So to get Cristiano Burani's look, as we saw on the last Fashion Week, you just need the right colors, a good brush, natural hair still from Shuemura, the number 12, and you can wet it in a little bit of water to get more intensity with the colors and the pigments, as if you use it dry, you won't get the intensity of the color. I just wet a little bit my brush, take off the excess, get the dark purple, and I start from the inner corner I apply the color on all the eyes until the inner corner. We are going to do the same thing on the other eye. Inner corner. Along the lashes. And I stop on the outer corner. Something very important, just make sure that you have the same quantity on the same level on both eyes. To make sure that you have the same finish, you always check in front of the mirror. And now I'm going to start to stretch the shadow this way, always with the same brush, wet, and bring the intensity higher.
From my tongue, but they aren't the ones I meant to say. That's exacerbate emotions, complicate the everything that you see.
Now to smudge the color, I'm gonna use another brush, always the same color of the eyeshadow. I'm gonna use that one, and with the lighter pink. For this I need a blender. I'm going to use the blender from MAC to have something more subtle around the eyes. I'm going to use that brush. That will be a brush that you will find on any makeup artist belt. So I mix those two shades, take off the excess, and then now start to blend on top of the wet shadows. The same thing on the other eye.
So just hold on tight to my hand. We'll make sense of this end. 'Cause love is free, yeah, love is free. Love is free for you and me.
And then blend with a very straight line. To make sure that the blending is the same on both sides, we always check in front of the mirror. So we can see here that it's missing a little bit, so I just blend it a little bit more with a very light hand. Now we're gonna do the bottom liner, which needs a little bit more practice. So we need to adapt it to the shape of the eyes of the model. So for Evelyn, I'm gonna do a kind of very stretched liner on the bottom and a little bit thicker. Okay, so for this I use a smaller brush, a liner brush, that I'm gonna wet and use always the same shades from this palette. So for this, I'm gonna use two liner brushes, one from Shueimura, which is very thin, and another one from one of the best makeup school in Paris, which is Cristiano Burani. I'm going to use that one for the thinner parts and that brush for the center of the eyes. So the same process as previously. I'm going to wet the small brush before. I get the pigment from the palette. So obviously it needs a little bit more practice, but after a few times you will get used to. So we start from the inner corner. Can you look up, please?
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's mind.
And we start on the other eye as well.
Through my eyes, instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Now I'm gonna do the same thing, but with the bigger brush. Then I'll make it much bigger in the center. I fill in along the lashes and I go straight on the outer corner. I do a kind of wave in the center of the eye and stretch it a little bit more. Once it's done on one side, we can start the other side. Then we're gonna use another shade, the white one, to make the colors be brighter. Once this is done, we're gonna use a white cream eyeshadow and a smaller brush to go on the inner corner and on the outer corner of the eyes. So to make these purple eyeshadows be brighter, I'm going to use a creamy eyeshadow, which can be a very good primer for the eyes makeup. That's a waterproof one, and that's my favorite. This is from Shueimura. Shueimura is a very good Japanese brand. They've got amazing false lashes, amazing eyeshadows, and that's something that never gets out from my makeup case. So I just get it on a tiny brush, take up the excess on my hands, and then look up, apply a little bit more on the inner corner this way and on the beginning of the lashes. The same thing on the other side.
There are people on reservations and out in the ghetto.
Then on the outer corner.
And brother, there, before the grace of God, go you and I.
And then we can dab it with the finger just to make it more subtle.
Of a little angel. Don't you know I'd fly to the top of the mountain and then I'd cry. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Now, as a final touch, I'm gonna touch up the purple eyeshadows, always with the same brush, the matte one that I've been using before. I don't need to add up any pigments. I just ask to Evelyn to turn to me, and then I'm gonna stretch it a little bit wider. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of highlights under the eyes just to catch the lights. So I'm using the brush that I've been using before for the foundation. I add a little bit of concealer. So the sculpt one from Dior that I've been using before. Take a very small amount on my hand. I dab it under the eyes without blending, no need. I'm going to use pressed powder, a very satin and very glittering powder just under the eyes, just to get that very strange kind of look, and then I will finish with the mascara. So the powder that I'm going to use under the eyes is one of my favorite, baby. Obviously that's a limited edition from Christian Dior. The name is Night Diamond. That's just a fantastic product. So I get a very small amount, I don't want to waste it, and look up, and I just dab it under the eyes. It's got that gold finish, which really catch up the lights during the day, and on the catwalk as well. I add up a little bit between the eyebrows. And a little bit on the chin. Okay. As we could see before on the catwalk, the models had quite natural lips. For Evelyn, I'm going to do more kind of nude lips. For this, I still use the same concealer as previously, and I go on the lips just to cancel the color. And I blend it. Over the top, I'm going to use that cream eyeshadow from MAC, which is the Hust one. You can use it in summer all over the face, has a blusher or has a lipstick. Just don't forget to be creative with your makeup. I get with the same brush as I've been using the concealer before, and I dab it just a tiny bit on the center of the lips. Over the top, I'm going to use a quite natural lip gloss. That's the Touche Brillance from Yves Saint Laurent, which is a kind of very light corally beige. Get a small amount on my hands. And with a concealer brush, just on the center. Less is more, we don't need to apply too much. Now we need to dress up the eyes. We need to finish to dress up the eyes. For this, obviously, we need a mascara. About myself, I'm always used to get two different mascaras. One which would be more natural and would bring some curves, which is the Unlimited from Christian Dior, and which is now not existing anymore. And the second one, which is the Dior Show Extase, one of the best I've ever used. It will bring length, volume, and curve at the same time. So I'm gonna layer two different mascara. Okay, let me look down. So I start with the first mascara.
So just hold on tight to my hand, will make sense.
And now the second layer with the Extase mascara. And I'm gonna apply much more just to get that false lashes finish. The same on the bottom lashes, with the most natural first.
My heartstrings attached, activated tight, things on my mind, worse from my tongue, but they aren't the
And now
ones
with the second mascara, the Extase.
to say. That's exacerbate, emotions complicate, be everything that you see.
I'm scared to love too, I'm human like you, but I'd rather burn than this love's turn.
Now to open up the eyes, we're gonna add up a little bit of white pencil on the waterline. We can see immediately the difference on the eyes. The right one looks much fresher. Turn to me. Look up. And that's it.